Yes.
Yeah, that was
that's our general public meeting. The 25,000 people who watched the video apparently did not make the transition over to Skype.
Well, and that's kind of a sad summary of what what Bush was talking about earlier. I mean, I don't know what you could do in the form of recruiting. Certainly, you can't open up to like general recruiting because that would mean instantly you'd get an application from Drew, which you'd have to handle.
I may remind you that we will. Well, I can remove that from the official record of things.
What? Oh, you're recording this?
Yeah, please remember that one.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't give a shit whether you remove it or not, to tell you the truth.
All right. Let's start over again. All right. Hello, everyone. Yeah.
Well, hello there.
Oh, who is this? We have someone coming into the chat, I believe. Offman Furcio? Mm-hmm. Shall we try to call this gentleman? Who added him into the chat, may I ask? Was that you?
Not me.
Not me.
Ross?
No, not guilty.
Himself to it.
That was weird.
Randy, did you add him?
No, I don't even know who he is. I've only got one guy that I could add, and he's not online now. So,
how did that person just come in and out just like that? What was that?
It wasn't anything to do with the last chat, was it, friend?
I don't know. I don't know. Well,
it looks like the last guy added that guy.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been a crazy situation there. Well, okay, so Jim, by the way, Jim was going to join the discussion, but he was in a car accident, and he is currently, let me see here, he has whiplash, and he is in pain. His front end bumper is messed up.
That's Jimbo, is it?
The airbag didn't deploy, unfortunately, and surprisingly. His car is still drivable. He is sore all over, and this happened on Thursday afternoon, from what I'm told, which is bad news. So hopefully Jim will get better soon. Wish them luck. Jim Bassfisher 6522.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to send him condolences, best wishes,
Yeah.
Maybe send them one of those videotapes for driving instructions.
Yeah, of course, we're just kidding about that. We're just, yeah. So we were going to discuss the inactivity, and I believe this would be a good example of such activity. Joe Stackhouse was going to show up, and he didn't. But I could try reaching him by phone to annoy him.
Is he ready to participate in the forum again, Mike?
I'll tell you what, while we're still doing, I'm going to get a coffee. Start and shut my windows. Is it raining where you are, Woosh?
I haven't looked out. Give me 1 second. I've got to put the mic there.
Let's see if he's available. Waste more time trying to call people now.
I don't think so.
Really? It's absolutely thrashing it down here.
Oh, we have had moments, but obviously weather patterns change, don't they? Clouds move and so forth.
That is true.
Yeah.
Joe Stackhouse and I are the only two people on Facebook to have ever listed our phone numbers publicly. I think.
Has that worked out for you, doing that, or is it a bad move?
Surprisingly, I'm very satisfied that no one unusual has contacted me that way.
Good,
so,
good.
I'm very happy there's been no stalking going on. Or
that explains why your number appeared on my phone when I logged into Facebook.
People are so disinterested in contacting me that They don't even call me when my number's on Facebook. All right, let me see. You think I'd get some advertisements or something from them? 547. Oh, I can't. Sorry, can't read it out loud. I'll just call.
Let me get this brew.
Oh, that would put our current call on hold. Let's see if I can add him to the chat.
I think I'm going to make a cuppa. I can take my phone with you.
This is, I must admit, totally thrown me that I was expecting that we would be fighting the people off. You know?
Yeah, so did I. I figured it would be like some battle to, you know, I'd have to have a gavel and try to hold order.
Keep order, yeah. I was expecting that, seriously, yeah.
No, I was too. Maybe we made the mistake of not hosting it on Google+. Let me try to call him. It's going to put you guys on hold, but hold on one second. As soon as he's connected, I'll transfer him in.
Hello?
Oh, hi.
Hello?
Okay. Just reached Joe. He's visiting someone in the hospital. He's in his car. He said I sounded like one of those people that call up saying that, like, you've won an award or something. He said that he will be back home in like an hour and a half if we're still around, but I have a feeling that might not be the case. But maybe if it is, he could talk for like 5 seconds or something. But so far I don't see anyone else available for this discussion. So I would say let's just continue on course to talk about whatever we were talking about before, or there is a number of subjects that were put up in the staff forum that we could still discuss. If you guys want to just look them up real quick, it's under, and I'll provide the link to you, the July 7th, 2012 team meeting. There was some additional stuff listed there. Let me see if I can just throw it over on the conference chat. We're going to discuss the inactivity of moderators and how to sort of bring the user community into the site more. If we had, oh wait, it looks like someone may have shown up. Let me add him immediately and see if he can join us to this call. He is from Japan. Okay, waiting. Okay, maybe not. Well, he can always call back if you would like. No, but there was this. If a number of members of the site had shown up, this would have been sort of like a site governance meeting. Like you could have basically, as a member of the site, helped us decide how we would go forward in certain areas of making decisions or running the site, or if you had a recommendation. But that can still be done with all of the administrators who are here, as well as Rich, who probably should be an administrator since he's here all the time anyway. And that would actually solve the problem of having 4 administrators. If we had 5...
Okay, well, I'll second that then.
We could have if we had 5 administrators, then if we had to make a vote on something, one of us could be the person that decides it if everyone agrees, or something like that. All right, but anyway, you know what I mean. It would be an odd number instead of an even.
I think you mean a tiebreaker.
Right, we would have a tiebreaker. Exactly. Yeah, excellent. So we discussed the fact earlier in our earlier meeting that was about what we were going to discuss at this meeting, that Mitchell is currently busy with life's affairs and such, but he is still an indispensable member of the team, as well as some other members who are indispensable, but there may be a few that are dispensable, unfortunately. You don't have to talk about that we don't have to go into too specifics with that, because who wants to offend anyone? We can figure that out later. How can we remove the barrier to communication? We have this whole segment of the members area for the staff forum that's on Skype, and then we have an entire area that's on the staff forum of the site, which is more or less the official way of going about things. But then, of course, we have the Skype area where we all are all the time. Well, for the most part, most of us are here all the time, except at night when we go to bed. I even leave my computer on, so you can reach me at all hours of the night. How do we sort of meld that together? Either we get more people on Skype, or we abandon Skype and use something else and get more people on that, which someone had recommended. I thought it was a good recommendation. There was someone on the Google Plus fan page who recommended using Google Plus because it supports a whole bunch of people discussing stuff at once with video if they want, and it's sort of like instantaneous communication. But I don't know. I have an affinity towards Skype. I think Skype is pretty reliable.
Well, it seems to have worked pretty well for us up until now. I'm not
for 6 years or whatever.
Yeah, well, how would it operate, though, if there were masses of people? That's an unknown quantity at the moment.
Well, I think if we had like a real uprising of interest and people wanted to discuss things, we could think about moving it to Skype. But I have the I'm sorry, think about moving it to Google Plus. But I have the Skype the group world membership thing, so I can call anyone in Europe, and I also have a landline thing, and I have the Google or the Skype professional or business version. So we would have HD video in Skype as well, with an unlimited number of callers as well.
Yeah.
So if I host the meeting, then everyone would get HD video if people wanted to broadcast in video, and I don't think it would be that much of a difference, to be quite honest with you. I think the people that use Google Plus just wanted it to be on Google Plus because they use Google Plus. I mean, they didn't want to install some extra software. Basically, that's what it comes down to in a way.
I suppose really Google's playing catch up with Skype. They want to compete.
Well, the thing is, with the newer phones and stuff, the Samsung Galaxy S3 will allow you to do something on Facebook that with an application called Color. It's called the Color app, and the S3 is coming out for every major provider in the world. But on the Verizon network, you'll be able to stream live on Facebook. It'll be the only app that allows you to do that, where you'll be able to create a window within Facebook where you're actually streaming live to everyone that's your friend on Facebook. I suspect that this is going to become more popular. I think Hangouts does that on Google Plus too. So if you join a Hangout on Google Plus, you could be in your car and you could be broadcasting live with 1 million other people or whatever. It's sort of the same thing. Skype is more like a closed sort of thing where you have to sort of join the conversation. You have to have an account, and that's sort of the downfall, the major downfall of Skype. But my real thing was like, well, you have the staff forum, and then you have Skype, and then all of us here are obviously discussing day-to-day things on Skype, but the staff forum is where people would probably check for information, and if we discuss it on Skype, and they might not even know that we discussed something on Skype. So how could we do we either get more people moving to Skype, or do we try to get more people into the staff forum? Or do we just publish everything we do on, I don't know. Or do we just leave it the way it is?
Yeah, it would be good if we could get more people on Skype to join in the moderator admin chat side of things.
Right. Because really right now it's become, every once in a while, Don does join us.
Yeah.
But it really is just at this point, it's myself, Ross, you, Whoosh, Mike, and Randy and Rich. So it's just us, really.
It's like a small clique, isn't it? If we could get more people to get involved. That would be a major turning point. The more people we can get to actually talk one-on-one with us, the more interest and loyalty to the forum will be engendered.
Well, and hopefully more of an interest in participating.
Yeah.
Because, it's been said many times before, the site is no more good than its members. I mean, if everyone just stopped posting, for all intents and purposes, the site would be pretty much dead.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't become in any way successful simply because I posted or Ross posted or Randy posted. I mean, it was a combination of everyone sort of interacting at the same time.
That's right. Yeah.
Just something I've noticed has been lacking. There's been less discussion and more help me please, my computer's about to self-destruct and I can't, help, what do I do? Is my CD-ROM and a cup holder? What, these sort of inane questions that keep popping up over and over. I think a large majority of them have been answered already in some cases.
Yeah. And also, it's cheaper now to replace equipment. That's a major thing. It used to be quite expensive. If you had to send your PC to have it repaired, say at PC World, you're looking at quite a lot of money there, or were anyway at one time.
Well, yeah, I mean, now the economy is bad, so the labor, they've destroyed organized labor to the point that people are willing to work for basically nothing, and whatever. But that's a whole nother. That's my opinion. Okay, so Ross, what do you think about this thought about user activity in general and this sort of gap we have between Skype? Are we sort of building a wall around ourselves and isolating ourselves, or are we just the last remaining people that are interested to discuss?
It depends how you look at it, doesn't it? Right? I mean, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it as that we're the core, the nucleus that's still left, and people come and go, and this is just the state of play at the moment. Things ebb and flow, don't they? Sometimes we'll have a lot of people, sometimes we won't have a lot of people. I don't really see it as a big issue.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Go ahead. Yes, please.
I mean, and it is in terms, say, of like areas like the blue screen and stuff like that. But I mean, these things can be worked out. I don't think it's. Yeah.
Do you know what I thought, Ross? When Windows 7 Windows 7 came out, the frenetic interest in the system, it really rejuvenated the forums. With Windows 8, that seems to be lacking.
Well, I think that remains to be seen because, I mean, there's nothing out there for Windows 8 right now. The general public just for common sense wise, the general public aren't going to install a beta version under one and only PC. Yeah. So when it's released in October, that may very well change drastically, and that's kind of a wait and see thing.
Yeah.
And
yes, if the PC sold with Windows 8 on that, so people will have Windows 8, and posts are starting to filter through. We're having we had a few today about this, about that, the other. So,
well, yeah, I think there's a general lack of interest in Windows 8, but with the cheap upgrade of $39.99, and we were talking, Randy, you were just talking about the retail release, but I think when the RTM becomes available, at least with Windows 7, well, that's when the Windows 7 site sort of went nuts, and I have a feeling the same thing could happen on the Windows 8 site, only because maybe not as intensely as with Windows 7, but people do have their way around getting the RTM version, and is my understanding that, according to the Windows Team blog at least, as they sort of inferred that when the RTM is released, anyone who's beta tested the product will be able to upgrade on the date of the release of the RTM version, of course, which will be sent to manufacturers. So if that's true, you would have a large number of people who legitimately are upgrading on the day of the RTM rather than the retail release. The people who have beta tested the release preview.
Yeah.
Also, that leads us to the question of, if you really need this operating system for $39.99, you should probably create a whole bunch of Windows Live accounts, although I don't advocate doing so. That would be one way maybe to do that. But not that I would recommend that whatsoever, but if you really needed to get multiple copies, that would seem to be one way to legitimately do it, since I believe you are allowed to create more than one Live account per user, or I may be mistaken.
I never tried that.
Of course, you need to install the release preview and connect it to your Windows Live account on multiple accounts or installations or whatever. But yeah, you'll have the option through the Upgrade Advisor to just bang it right through. Just go from the release preview to the final version. Or you could even just do a clean install through the Upgrade Advisor, which is something new. Usually you'd have to boot from the CD, and this will allow you to create an ISO. It'll allow you to boot from the CD, create a bootable USB thing and everything straight through the Upgrade Advisor, which is a pretty neat way of going through operating system upgrades in the future, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've been waiting for that for years. I was like, I have to go to the store to buy this thing. I've downloaded, or this will actually be one way to just constantly keep updating Windows whenever it comes out. And if they keep to the $39.99 thing every time you have to upgrade, that would be great, to be quite honest with you. It'd definitely be lowering the cost quite substantially.
Giveaway, actually, at that price. It's pretty cheap, yeah.
To give you an idea, I think some of the more popular antivirus products are like 2 or 3 times the price. The Adobe Master Collection, which includes most of Adobe's software, is like something like $2,500. Adobe Photoshop itself is something like $1,000, isn't it? So, you're getting a massive bargain, at least for $39.99. I cannot see it being any cheaper, really. That's if it's even worth upgrading to, but it's a little bit subjective right now, I think, until the benchmarks come out and not everything. At least for me, the benchmarks aren't important. I don't know. Hello.
I'm sorry.
I'm just sorry. No one's saying anything.
I was kind of thinking.
I was reflecting on what you said, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where you got the sense that that was going to be available, that upgrade path was going to be available at RTM. I didn't think it was going to be available till October, and I'm kind of reviewing the blog now, and I'm trying to figure out.
Let me see if they said RTM. I'm pretty sure they said RTM, unless it was just wishful thinking. But I keep thinking, well, when the RTM comes out, you know what happens? And this is just reality. People acquire it either through MSDN or through TechNet. Hopefully it'll be posted on those sites. Otherwise, what the hell do you have the subscription for? Also...
I'm sure it'll be on TechNet and MSDN.
Right. Also then... that'll strike an enormous amount of interest, but then you'll also have people who are downloading it from whoever. And as long as the MD5 checksum and the SHA-1 hash is correct, you basically have the same not to say that that's a legitimate way to acquire it, but some people will be experimenting it without a product key until they're able to get one. So... that's a whole nother thing. But let me see.
In the first sentence, it says starting at general availability. So that's October.
It was incorrect then. Randy, you are correct. So, but I think there still will be interest.
Did everybody hear him say that?
Yes. No, yes, that's correct. You're right. I misspoke. It was wrong. Incorrect information. Sorry. But there will still be interest because once the RTM is released, everybody knows it's out and people figure out a way of getting it anyway. And that doesn't mean that they're all pirates. It just means that they're probably just waiting for the retail release until they can get a product key. Or they have TechNet or MSDN. So that'll spark at least a substantial amount of interest on the Windows 8 site. Otherwise, we'll know for sure we're doing something completely wrong. I mean, if there's no interest when it RTMs, which could be next month, well, then we'll certainly know that we've screwed up in some way and we need to totally redo the site and, maybe even start all over again, or who knows? I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see how much interest there is. With 7, it was frenetic. Every little hint of a development, every little change in the operating system was followed avidly. I can remember I used to really get excited. There's been a Chinese leak, the Russians have brought this bit of news out, and this, that, and the other. It doesn't seem to be happening at all, really.
And it's important to note that anytime that happened with the Windows 7 prior to the RTM and even general availability, everyone just went crazy. Yeah. And it was a great marketing tool for Microsoft by these things leaking out, which way it happened. Somebody at some company in China would get a copy of it and they leak it all over the internet. Yeah. Not saying that's legal, but once it happened, it would spur this enormous amount of interest because it had been, the first serious release of a Microsoft operating system since 2001. Yeah. I mean, Windows Vista was, everyone just was praying to God that they could get off of Vista. I thought it was a decent operating system, but the majority of people really despised it. And it's good to see that the Windows 8 Upgrade Advisor will even include sort of a upgrade path from Windows XP. If you try to run the Upgrade Advisor on XP, it'll let you move over some personal files, but everything in the registry will be cleared out, but it'll still migrate you over. You'll just have all this junk on your computer you have to delete or whatever. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd still recommend the clean install, but you'd have sort of a half-assed, excuse the French, upgrade path there. Sort of. So, the reputation system, we had some complaints about it already, which I was sort of anticipating. Randy, did you have anything to say about that, or Rich?
Go ahead, Rich. You got anything to say about the reputation system?
Well, firstly, I'd turn it off because, I just really don't see the point of it. Because people abuse it. Well, people are always abusing it, aren't they? We had mods before now giving reps for the silliest of posts.
Years ago, yes.
Yes. So to be honest, I'll just turn it off. We don't actually we don't actually do it for rep, do we? We do it because we like computers and we like Windows.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's important to point out that several days ago, one of our users, a more prominent member of the site who has made himself well known, a bit infamous in some cases, has complained about the reputation system, and it has been disabled on both sites, if only because I have just known through my experience in communication with the vBulletin developers, and it's widely known outside of that throughout most of the communities of sites running vBulletin that the reputation system is currently broken. And for vBulletin 5 Connect, which is the next major upgrade to the forum software, they're looking at somehow fixing that system or replacing it altogether. So there's really not much of a future for it. Even if we thought it was a good idea, it usually ends up with somebody getting upset. Unless we disable negative reputation, and then everyone ends up with great reputation no matter what they do.
Yeah.
So the whole system is bugged out. I mean, people that shouldn't have good reputation get it. People that should have bad reputation don't get it. And in some cases, no one gets any reputation at all. So it's not an accurate assessment of the activity on the site. I think the experience point system that we used but that also had some problems with people complaining about points and stuff. And it uses up a lot of computing power to constantly monitor every single thing someone does. So that was disabled too a while ago, and bringing it all back may not be the best idea. I mean, the site has gone on, and viewership members have pretty much stayed the same. Membership levels have unfortunately not increased very much, and if we go year by year, user activity, number of posts at least, has sort of declined. But the experience system was sort of an experiment to try to make the site more social. If you remember, years ago, we were giving out User of the Month awards and featuring certain content and stuff like that, and sort of really trying to encourage people to join the site and enjoy using the site even as a member. And this has now just turned into like, why is my computer broken? I'm in complete disarray. Please help me. And this is fine because, well, that's a major part of the site, and it's always been accepted to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't have created the support area. But it seems like that's all the site has become, outside of course, Whoosh's comedy haven to escape all misfortune. People go to the water cooler to read his comedic materials. Outside of that, there's not much, there's not much social media. There's not much activity going on. I mean, even when I personally create a video, put it up on the site, we could get like 2,000 views. And out of those 2,000 views, maybe someone will take something from it, and we'll get like, a lot of people will like the video, but they'll never really come back to the site and say, oh, I watched this video, here's what I think of it, here's what I didn't like about it, here's why I thought it was good. We never ever get that at all, which is kind of disheartening.
Well, I'll tell you what disheartened me. The last time we got a sort of community spirit, it was Drew and other people sloping off and setting up their own forum somewhere else, you know. They were like, they were all very friendly, but they weren't really friendly with the staff on the forum here, you know.
Well, yeah, we did have some people from years ago who had disagreements with certain policies, and looking back, I mean, that might not have been such a bad thing. Certainly we didn't tell them to go away for the most part, unless they really went off the wall. And it sort of did quite a few times. I remember it would make us sort of question what we were doing and say, is this a good idea or not? And more often than times, those discussions usually led to good things, improvements or tinkering around here and there that added some improvement to the site. So I don't think all criticism is bad, just the malicious criticism is. But at this point, we have no criticism because we have no one interested in criticizing.
And as you say, even negative comments can be advantageous in that at least someone's shown an interest.
Right. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's a tremendous interest right now. I mean, there's people visiting from all over the world. And I have no explanation as to why that does not convert into people joining the site and discussing whatever they want. It does translate into people joining the site as a last resort kind of thing. Like, you can tell that they're desperate to resolve a serious problem that they're having. But it doesn't. We don't have like the discussion thing that we used to have. And I was hoping that the Windows 8 site would sort of improve in that area, but it has and it hasn't. So I don't know what you guys maybe thought of that.
The problem with the discussion with Windows 8 is that a certain member, every time you say anything negative about the OS, jumps in saying, "Oh no, you're wrong," and it really does make it so you can't be bothered to actually say anything about Windows 8 or any of the technologies behind it, because it's a wonderful OS, and you know, we all know it's not perfect, and Metro's a bit of a nightmare.
Right. I mean, if you don't have a touchscreen computer, let's be honest, it's going to take a while for you to get used to Metro, and it's probably not as utilitous. I don't even know if that's a word, utilitous. That may be Latin or something.
It sounded good.
It's probably not as utilitarian as, like, or the start menu, unless you have a touchscreen computer. Or you may get used to it and you're using all sorts of keyboard hotkeys and stuff, and you become like some start screen power user. But for most part, I don't think it, just from experience, and literally from experience, I mean, there were people who could not understand the start menu. If you think they're going to understand this crazy start screen, you know what? I don't think they're going to be able to learn how to organize stuff on there correctly. It's going to be a gigantic learning curve for people who, just getting them to learn how to work a new copier or a new printer is like, like you have to explain it to them for 20, 30 minutes. So, it's almost like that. Not everyone is as technical savvy as we'd like to think. And so we would like to have more technical savvy people on the site, but at the same time, I still think that people may end up installing Windows 8 and being like, how exactly do I take full advantage of this outside of clicking on the icons and stuff, I don't know. One thing I do suspect is that people will have a lot of applications running in the background because they probably won't know how to close those applications.
Well, yeah, that's the problem I have
Windows 8,
with
you mean? They hardly use any memory anyway.
Yeah, but that's
depending
still,
on
that's still there, and it depends how many you've opened. I've noticed memory usage can get really out of hand if you stop clicking on a lot of the Metro apps.
Right. Imagine that you just don't know really what you're doing. You just leave the computer on for weeks and you end up having like 100 programs on at the same time. I don't know. It's just a thought. I don't know. In the work environment, what would you think, Randy?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I mean, I don't see a lot of businesses, small or enterprise level businesses, jumping on the Windows 8 bandwagon. I mean, there'll be, I'm sure there'll be some grudging acceptance, just through basic attrition. As your equipment gets older, you'll be purchasing new equipment. Anything you purchase probably on or around the holiday season is going to be running Windows 8. Unless you see things happening with RTM people, Dell and HP offering that same downgrade offer that they had with Vista. I mean, you could pay an extra, I don't know, $99 and have your Vista machine with XP Service Pack 3 installed. That might be something that people see. I don't know. Personally, I'm good with it. I don't have any problems. I've assured Whoosh a couple times that he would enjoy it more if you just go ahead and install Classic Shell and be done with it. That's right. Yeah. So I don't know. I generally speaking, I got a feeling that there's not going to be a rush to upgrade. You might see it from home users, but business users, then they've got their own proprietary mission critical business applications that they would have to make sure were compatible, and they weren't going to be running into compatibility issues in regard to upgrading to Windows 8. So there's a lot of different factors that may go into making that kind of a decision for even a small business, a little mom and pop with, half a dozen computers.
Yeah, they probably modify it, Randy. Get rid of
I've also
that
the
metro.
I'm sorry, Rich, I didn't hear.
No, it's the video card thing as well, because I've moved on to WDM 1.2, is it? So, like, all the video cards below ATI 5000 and the NVIDIA, what was it, 4800, no. Yeah, 480, are all going to be, like, defunct. We can't get drivers for them anymore. We can use the old
that's certainly... No, I agree.
Use the older... Yeah, sorry. We can still use the old Windows 7 drivers, but to be honest, I find them to be less than stable. And I know ATI and NVIDIA said they're not going to bother releasing WDM 1.1 anymore. So we're all going to have to go to 8 eventually.
So it's all built-in obsolescence, Rich.
Well, yeah, the technical term would be planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, it's annoying me because, like, if you have, say, like an ATI 4800, the card's perfectly fine of doing everything that Windows 8 can do. They've just dropped driver support for it now.
Apart from DX11.
Well, yeah, apart from DX11.
Well, look at it this way. How much did a old light bulb cost? The ones that didn't last for 10 years?
Yeah.
Those were like 99 cents, right? And then they started selling ones that would last for 10 years for $20, at least in the United States. So they figured out a way to, they had a light bulb that would last for 100 years ago. But they wouldn't sell them because they didn't think they could make any money from them. Who the hell would buy a $100 light bulb? So now they have light bulbs that clearly you can have run for 10, 15 years without dying, and you just end up paying $15, $20, or I guess maybe 10 to 12 euros
Is it,
for
Mike,
some super light bulbs.
Is it the law over there that you have to have these long life bulbs now?
No, it's not, but it's perceived to be a bit more economical as far as the price per wattage or whatever.
Yeah, in the UK we have to have the long life bulbs. You just can't buy the normal cheap ones anymore.
They tried that here, which actually I think there was even a bill before Congress. I think it got voted down to make those mandatory, to make the new long life bulbs mandatory. But I don't think it. I'm pretty sure it got voted down. It didn't. I don't think it got out of committee.
Ah, good. Yeah.
So yeah. So now it's like, who cares? you know. I mean, there's that's the problem with the technology environment, insofar as computers are concerned, is you almost have to care, because I mean, there's that kind of planned obsolescence you can't escape. I mean, you have an option here to buy an old light bulb or a new light bulb, but pretty soon you're not going to have those kind of options when it comes to computers. You're going to have, your video card is just not going to be supported.
That's not right, though. I mean, some of those cards are expensive. It's just not.
Sure. When you think of the broad-based desktop installs, you and I and probably everybody involved in this conversation right now, we do quite a bit with our computers, but generally, Joe Jones and his wife, they get. Who just switched that on?
That's my Metcalf.
I'm sorry. Yes, it appears we have several members joining. Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Mike. We have Ross here, as well as Randy and Michael Miles. We also have Rich here as part of our meeting. You guys have joined. We are currently discussing Windows 8.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm listening.
Great.
Would you guys like to introduce yourselves at all, or?
I'm Colin. I'm based in Japan, European, British, and
Oh wow.
working out here. It's 10 o'clock in the morning here. Where you're obviously in the States.
There's some
nighttime,
Brits here. There's some Brits here,
Yeah,
Colin.
but
Yeah, there's some bits as well. Hello.
Good morning. Or good evening, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Steve in Reno, Nevada.
All right.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, guys.
Hi, hello, Steve.
Damn hot in Nevada. Okay. Windows 8, yeah. Thoughts?
Oh, we were just talking about the planned obsolescence of Windows 7, and ultimately how within, by Christmas time, you'll sort of it'll be out of necessity that you'll sort of have to go ahead and sort of purchase a new laptop. But go ahead, Randy. You were discussing. Randy?
Has he popped off somewhere?
I don't know.
I think
Randy? Hello?
Randy's at, yeah. Randy sounds offline.
No, he's still on the call.
Yeah, I'm still on the call. I had to mute my microphone. I had to pick up a outside call.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. We interrupted your train of thought. Where were we? With the upgrade option, or I'm sorry, it was with the going ahead forward towards the necessity to have to upgrade, I think it was, or
I don't know. I completely lost my train of
I
thought.
got lost at light bulbs.
Yeah, exactly. It probably wasn't all that important, and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how far that analogy would have tracked anyway. So.
Yeah.
Well, do the new people here?
Yeah, who likes Windows 8? Come on, let's have a free for all. Let's see who actually likes Windows 8.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Problem with Windows.
I think like might be too strong a word, but I don't dislike it.
Yeah. I like it. I use it daily, and it so there's a yay from me. I
use it daily as well, but there are certain things that I don't know. I don't find that attractive about it. I'm going to be a Windows 8 user because out of necessity. I'm going to have to support it, and I'm going to have to help people with it, and so I'm going to use it, and I'm going to get familiar with all the ins and outs, and where I need to work around it, I can work around it. It doesn't prevent me from doing anything that I normally do, in any other operating system. So I'm good with it.
Yeah. Same.
I don't think it'll take off as I don't think the design of the front screen is attractive enough to draw people away who are currently with Windows 7. Because you've got millions of laptops out there which Windows 7 works on. Windows 8 only has the extra features of A, not being as attractive on the desktop, and B, it doesn't have that many additional features apart from touchscreen, and there's not that much demand for touchscreen laptops at the moment. Because there's that many laptops out there, people aren't rushing out to get the new models because they haven't quite got the right spec of 3D laptop, for instance, which Windows 8 might be able to take benefit
Windows 8
from.
isn't designed really for laptops. It's designed for these small form factors, isn't it? And the ARM CPU, which and of course, which we've now recently discovered, Microsoft are going to make themselves.
But working people, who are the people who are buying. Who you're talking about upgrading? You're talking about people with laptops who would upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 8, aren't you?
Not necessarily. I'm just talking about tablets. They just wanted an OS which will work on phones, tablets, etc., etc., isn't it? You know, they found themselves last year in a position where the market's being flooded by Apple and Android users and this, that, and the other, and all Microsoft was just an OS, where now they're almost in a rebrand situation where they've got they're bringing out their own hardware, and they've got a unifying OS to boot. So, you know, you can either look at it. To me, you can either look at it. You know, oh, it's a load of crap. It doesn't do this. It doesn't do that, and and you know, or you can sort of think, well, actually, it does this, and actually, it does that, and I don't know. To me, it's how you look at it, really, and.
But is it trying to position itself between Apple and Android, or is it trying to be something else? I mean, where is it? Because if you look at it as a desktop, it's not not appealing to a buyer. But if you look at an Apple desktop, for instance, on your mobile and things, it's got the nice rounded edges, the 3D effect you get on the Androids now. It's very attractive. But I think the front feature, the front screen of Windows 7, somebody needs shooting and somebody needs to be employed designing an attractive desktop for that Windows 8. And then you'll get people coming in. But at the moment, it's just bland. I think
you're on about the start screen, of course.
And it's a crazy thing, but it's like a lot of people buy a car because of the colour or because of the way it looks, not because of how it runs, not because of how efficient it is, because they think, oh, that was nice. I'll get that.
The way I see that start screen,
Apple, isn't it?
I just see that start screen as a menu, pure and simple. That's all.
But I think Apple got a lot of people head that direction because it looks attractive. You know, I mean, people are attracted to pretty women, even though they're dumb. It doesn't make it. The attraction of something does draw customers, and if the idea is to make profit, I don't know. It wants to be a thought.
Yeah, I know, like you say, it's horses for courses. I get on with it, so.
It seemed to me that this was rushed, considering how long XP hung around, and then the period they spent with Vista. People buy computers about every 3 to 4 years if they're the norm out there, not the geeks, not the people that enjoy computers. And 7 hasn't been out that long. Many people have not even upgraded to it because they've had to buy a computer in the window of time that only offered 7. As a matter of fact, let's face it, just last year they stopped supporting XP. So I don't know what the rush is. I think the rush is for small devices. They needed to get one out that could work across platforms. And I just think there's not enough interest right now. But I'll tell you, what Ree's saying is absolutely true. We don't fall in love with the women we fall in love with necessarily because of their productivity. We fall in love with them because they were so damn good looking, we walked across the room to meet them.
Yeah.
I yield.
Yeah.
So, anybody else got any thoughts on this, or?
Would you restate the initial question first, though, because some of us just came in a few minutes ago, and what answer are we trying to answer right here?
Well, we're not trying to answer really anything. I mean, Ross just threw it out there. Who likes Windows 8, and I suppose reciprocally, who doesn't?
Yeah, I think it's because of their hardware that we have the Metro in place. It doesn't really make much sense on a desktop. On a tablet or a phone, it's great. But having the Metro on a desktop doesn't seem to have any real logic to it.
The first thing I considered was what you compromise on a laptop or desktop in order to be able to have them push us towards smartphones and other things.
And the problem is that they're a bit late, aren't they? They're about 3 years too late. They could create the best looking device going, but Android have already got the market sewn up. Yeah. Apple are losing market share like there's no tomorrow, to be honest. The only reason Apple is still in the market is because they keep suing everyone and stopping people like Samsung and HTC from selling their devices. And I can't see them actually. I can't actually see them taking on Microsoft because they're equally sized companies. It's just not going to work.
Can I interrupt here? Just Toyota make cars, yeah. When they wanted to bring out something special, they named it Lexus. Why doesn't Microsoft think a little bit that way for Windows 8 or Windows 9? Because I think a lot of people have had bad experiences with Windows. Those of us who have been using it since Windows Millennium, Windows 2000, have gone through millions of crashes over the years. And although it's getting better since XP, there's still issues out there, and there's still repeated pattern. If Microsoft, are that confident of the brilliance of Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows 9, whatever's in the future, maybe it should think about branding it like Lexus, the way Toyota did that, and it brings in a new market and a new freshness to it. Just a thought. It's how Toyota did it with Lexus, so why not Microsoft do it with its own Windows 8, 9? Rebrand it somehow and put it in an easy to use, powerful package, rather than relying on people's perceptions of, the early models weren't very good and maybe there's some glitches in the new ones. Oh, we're going to try Apple, we're going to try Android. Android has its problems, everyone knows. Apple has its problems, everyone knows. But if there's like a top tier model of an operating system, then brand it as such, and people pay attention. I'm pretty sure of that.
I don't know if the public does really pay attention. I mean, it's take the example of AMD versus Intel. It's whenever Intel have a advertising spree, AMD always rub their hands with glee, because at the end of the day, the end user, when they go into a shop to buy a computer, they don't even think about whether it's an Intel or an AMD. They just want to buy a computer. So whenever Intel have an advertising spree, as it were, AMD computers, they go up as well. Their sales go up as well. Simply, people just want something that's going to work. So
reliability,
yeah,
like Lexus compared to Toyota.
Yeah, but I mean, just to sort of answer that, I mean, some of the stuff that they've been coming out, the rebrand and the way they've been pushing it over, I think they have sort of like switched stuff around, with the OS, and I think they have. I mean, they've rebranded it to a point where most people hate it, and now people are considering whether Microsoft are making the biggest mistake in their lives, whether this is going to be, journalists are split 50-50. Some of them are saying, watch out, this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. The other half are saying, no, this is the worst mistake ever. Microsoft are going to go down in flames and this. And, I guess we'll just have to see. I think it depends on their surface. I think if their surface works, their in-house built tablet stroke laptop, I think if that's good and it delivers, obviously we don't know the spec on the processor yet and its battery life and the RAM capabilities, etc. But and of course it goes hand in hand with Windows 8. Maybe it could change a few minds, but I think to just bring it out on its own as a standalone desktop operating system, of course it doesn't really make sense. Of course it doesn't. But when the gap is filled with you see, at the moment, I think we're only seeing 1/3 of the package, which is the operating system. We've seen another third, which is let's say the Surface tablet, and we've yet to see the phones, the true phones, which will carry the Windows 8. And I think when all those products are brought out and unified, maybe it might still be a huge mess, and it might all be go down in flames or whatever.
They are sacrificing the desktop user I think the general consensus is that Windows.
But how are they? How are they sacrificing the desktop user?
It's not
really designed for the desktop. It's more for the Android.
It's got a desktop, Whoosh. Whoosh, it's got a desktop.
I know, but it's got that big Metro stuck in the middle.
Yeah, but you don't use the Metro. So, I mean, you know what? This is what I can't understand why people are getting so hung up about this Metro thing. You know, you're on a PC. Why are you using Metro? You're on a PC. You delve into Metro every now and again, and perhaps use one of the apps in there. In fact, I was playing a Backgammon Metro app today. Backgammon. They've recently released Backgammon in the game, which is fantastic. I thought lovely. But 99% of the time, I'm on a PC, so I stay in the desktop. I don't even go near Metro. Now, if I was using a tablet or a phone, no doubt I'll perhaps spend 99% of my time in Metro. You know, and then one could say the argument is, why did they include a desktop?
Yeah.
Well, in RT there won't be a desktop. You'll be, 24/7 Metro. That's all that'll be in the RT version. But yeah, the x86 will you'll be able to switch back and forth on a tablet just like you can on a desktop. So. But Windows RT for ARM, that's going to be strictly Metro all day long.
Sure.
You know, to the point Mike and Chemical were both making, though, I think Microsoft's having in a quandary. They made their stars. Bill Gates made a fortune because they captured 90+% of the business and government market. A lesser percent of academia, but still large. That made them stars. The problem is business doesn't like to change the operating system and have to retrain those less techie employees every 2 years. And the way they've come out with, from XP to Vista, then to 7, and now to 8, really doing it, as Michael said, to pull us all into the tablet and the smartphone market doesn't make sense to your average executive board that's looking at a huge cost to move to it. So there's going to be a real Apple always had the artistic flair, the consumer, the young student market. They focused on arts and entertainment and students. Microsoft was the business crowd. Yeah. Now, Windows never cared as much about being sexy. For one thing, they didn't start off graphic. But now they've realized that somehow that has a useful appeal that's really cool, but I personally am not sure that's a good idea. I think they'd be better off continuing to look at that core business and government market and keep them strong while moving into other things, accepting the fact that people might have an iPhone or are going to have an Android. I saw a stat in the Wall Street Journal the other day that said Android is now 20%, 7% of the U.S. market. iPhone is 15, and I guess the rest are dumb phones. I don't know, but anyway, just a point.
I suppose what you're saying, there's a lot to be said for government and stuff, because I suppose it's like their bread and butter, isn't it? Really, it keeps the money churning.
And they're kicking it out the door by constantly changing, because a business of 60 employees does not want to go out and bring them all. I was running a company of 55 people back in 80, and I remembered the hassle. I mean, some people can simply open up Microsoft Word and it's seamless. It makes sense. But I had some people there that absolutely were afraid of their computers, and I had that meant 90s. I mean, they all wanted classes for things, and I finally offered a free trip to Bermuda for them and their significant other for the first person that transitioned most quickly in correspondence, and by God, all of a sudden everybody learned it. I mean, it was amazing. That's the mindset of people. They don't want to change. But if Microsoft loses the business and government market, it's really going down the hole.
Yeah.
It's
a big risk.
Yeah, I don't see them losing the market, but I do see a resistance to an upgrade to the new operating system, and that's across the board. I mean, across the board in respect to the desktop and the server. So they're both Metro environments. So I see a real reluctance among small, and I'm talking a half a dozen computers in a small business or an enterprise environment. I just don't. I agree with you completely that I've been there and done that. I mean, users are just resistant to change. Never mind the fact that they'll have their mission critical apps to consider whether or not, they're going to work with the new operating system.
Yeah, drivers, that's right. A little point of order. I just recognized the limitation of the Skype audio conferencing. There's only 6 people on my visual board. The gentleman that was just speaking was not even showing up. So I guess we need to mention our first names. I've only got 6 people registered on this call right now other than myself. How many are there? Does anyone know?
I think there is only 6.
6, yeah. There's only 6.
Yes, it is 6.
I don't see me on there.
Actually, we have 7.
Colin, you won't see yourself.
You won't see yourself, so you'll see 6.
All right. Never done multi-conference.
And
Okay.
who is the Metcalf? Which
Yeah, that's Steve Metcalf. I also signed in back when the message first came out as CB6. That's a backup address, but cancel
okay.
that.
So yeah, that was. You say you're from Nevada?
Yeah, I was a New Yorker that moved out here to ride a motorcycle around the West. I noticed Michael said Woosh 1949. Well, I would be Steve 1947. So this is the stage of playtime for me.
Same age as my wife.
And mine, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know as I'd be that sort of. I mean, if I didn't get my software free, and if I had to pay for Windows 8, I don't think that I'd be so blasé about it as I am.
And it's a big risk for a business as well. That's a hell of an investment to see it go down the pan because people can't cope with it.
But then again, I mean, normally these guys have sort of thought that. I mean, they're pretty serious. I mean, they've normally thought these things through, and there's usually a bigger plan to these things, and I don't know. It just
Well, can I just add my own 2 cents here?
No.
Well, what if they had some sort of advanced knowledge, or at least a prediction, and it was of a high probability that within the next 10 to 20 years, most desktop computers would be reduced to what would today be considered a touchscreen laptop with something like a 27-inch monitor. Or a system, whereas you could have a 27-inch monitor with the system built in, which we've actually seen created, in fact, by Apple, which I think Stephen mentioned. And Dell actually has experimented with those all-in-one systems before. But if it does come to that, there are already human interface devices in place that would essentially replace the keyboard. It's just a matter of time until those hardware peripherals are developed. So it's very possible that they're looking very far ahead, whereas we're looking sort of short term. They sort of have this history of releasing stuff way before the hardware is available for it.
Yeah, I know they're trying to bring out a roll-up screen monitor, so you could, in theory, have a monitor as large as you desire.
next year, I think they are. If you look at Online Click, the BBC tech program. It's got a feature on those roll-up screens.
They've been talking about it for years.
Yeah, they're out next year.
Now, is that going to be a touch type screen or?
These weren't. These were just sort of flexible screens.
Because
apparently they're coming.
Even
you could have your own weather on the window blinds.
Yeah, that's
Pull
true.
a window blind down and pick your weather scene. Anyway,
you wouldn't want a touch screen at those sizes. You'd need something like an Xbox to control the by gestures and voice activation.
Well, think about it. Oh, go ahead, Rich. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can use Connect. They've already got the tech.
Right. When Connect for Windows, and also which is coming out or has come out, or I don't know. I think the SDK is out.
whereas you can use your Kinect for Xbox to try to turn it into a Kinect for Windows or something. But the Kinect for Windows will be more have a closer range where it'll actually detect your eye movements and hand movements to allow you to control Windows. But I think that's just the beginning, because if you look at the way technology is moving, it's sort of like, well, you know what? It actually would kind of be easier if I could just think about what I want to appear on the screen and it shows up somehow. How that would occur, hopefully not an implant in the brain, let's not go that far. But I think that the technology is close to that point. I mean, who would have thought 10 years ago or 20 years ago that we would all be using these flat screen monitors? We'd all have 16 gigabytes of memory on most of the new computers coming out. Who would have thought we'd have these laptops that are 3 to 4 inches in width and have these super high resolution HD screens?
True.
I think it was Google that's coming out with these glasses that you put on, and you can read a book that's written in a foreign language and it'll translate it into your native language. So I mean, these types of innovations are just it's sort of like reinventing the microwave. Who would have thought that this could be possible? So it may be that they have access to some of the advanced research that generally isn't discussed in public. At least that's what I'm hoping, because otherwise I agree that businesses just won't upgrade to this operating system. The costs to retrain dozens or even hundreds of employees is just so ridiculous that, as Steve said, just from working in IT myself, and I'm younger than Steve. I'm in a whole different generation. It's just there are people that have this complete block, where they just cannot learn. Like I said earlier, installing a printer scares them. Using a new printer, it may take 30 to 45 minutes to an hour. It may take several days for them to learn how to pick it up. And that doesn't mean they're not skilled in other areas. It just means that they're not computer savvy. And I think future generations that won't be the case. But hello, there are still people alive that are like this. And you can't just throw them under the bus. They're just not going to buy it.
Yeah,
Mike, it'll always be the case, Mike, because it's a left brain, right brain thing. I hang out with 19-year-olds at coffee shops all the time who like to think that they own the new generation and they're so sharp. Now, they don't know some of us were winning Fortran programming contests in the 60s, but they think they're so cool. And the truth of the matter is I sit down with them and find out that they're confounded by things even on their smartphone. But the fact that they can tweet makes them think that they've got it by the balls. But back to the earlier points you were making. Right. Microsoft did not want – it had massive market share. I think the highest number I saw was 92 or 93% at one time. Now it recognizes that as emerging markets around the world grow, India, China, and many other countries, Myanmar, Bangladesh, people get their first phone all through the African belt. They're not going to own a computer for years, but they're going to get a smartphone. They recognize that they're going to go to a dwindling and very small market share if they don't keep their foot in that market or get their foot in that market, because so many millions of people in the world won't own a computer for ages. They'll use a computer in a cyber cafe or in the day you're talking about, when most of our interface will be voice transcription, or every table in a cafe will have these automatic spots in each of the 4 sectors with a cheap keyboard that's automatically connected to your thing if you're within X feet of it and you just hit its number.
Right.
Restaurants will hand you a fold-out thing like a napkin right now, and that'll be a keyboard for those people that need to interface with their fingers. But the fact is, time's changing, and if Microsoft just holds on to computers, it's going to be squeezed out of the business. So it has to bridge into smartphones and tablets.
Exactly.
Right. That's exactly where I was moving towards, because that's ultimately what will happen. It could be decades from now, but they're probably already thinking, you know what? This Google, they designed this Linux derivative software, and it's actually a competing operating system.
Mozilla, they're going to bring out an operating system now as well.
Right. I mean, you have Chromebooks on sale for $299. I mean, they're not capable of the productivity that a Windows machine is yet. But I think that the solution ultimately, long term, if Microsoft can't succeed in achieving market share with these phones and these tablets, then I felt that cross-platform virtualization would be something to look at, whereas you'd be able to move seamlessly from one type of operating system to the next using some kind of cross-platform virtualization that hasn't been created yet. I mean, there's cross-platform scripting. Like if you look at Java, that's a great example of cross-platform scripting. It's completely insecure because it's targeted all the time, because you can infect every type of computer and every type of operating system in the universe there with that. But it's a success in the fact that you can run and develop applications that work on multiple devices and multiple operating systems. So I don't know what the real answer is. Maybe people just won't get Windows 8 when it comes out, but ultimately Microsoft may get a reprieve at a later time. That's what I would maybe think. They'll have to refine what they're working on now to make it acceptable to the population.
Has anybody ever seen any statistics that show what percentage of the people that move from one operating system to another, at least in the recent ones, do it by purchasing a retail copy versus getting a new computer with that software on it? Because I think the latter point is what's going to hold a lot of people back from Windows 8. It's not that they have any objection to it. They just don't see the point in spending $70, $80, $100 until they get another computer, which they're going to do in the next 2 or 3 years anyway.
Right. I mean, most people, you'd be surprised, when you work with someone on a computer for the first time and you say, what version of Windows do you have? They don't even know,
right.
They have no idea. Yeah. They don't even know what Windows is. Like Windows, maybe they have some vague clue that, okay, this is the thing in my computer that lets me open up different windows on the computer, but they don't. They know Bill Gates created it, but they don't really know what version they have or anything. I mean, I've gone to a doctor's office where he doesn't know what the difference between Windows XP and Windows 7 is, or which version his office is even running.
Maybe he doesn't want to know he's out of date.
They leave. I mean, you have people with PhDs that just they can't be bothered.
Well, how many times have you had somebody say to you, "Yeah, my computer, it's got 160 gigabytes of RAM."
Right. They're
no,
using
you must be
hard
talking
drive.
about a hard drive.
Right.
I think everybody on this call has had to guide friends, family, and business associates to the start menu, up to computers, right-click, and go down to properties, and then had them read what they see, because they didn't have a clue, as Mike just said, whether it was RAM or memory or whatever.
I don't think Microsoft would take these risks as much as they do without what you've just brought and what Mike was saying about the fact that, Microsoft has the beauty of being able to have this OEM connection where anybody who buys a new computer is automatically going to be given Windows 8. No other company has that.
Right, they still have control of the OEM partners, and they're sort of I think even with that Surface thing, they sort of tried to prove a point that, hey, you know what? Even if you don't go along with us, we'll just release our own stuff, which was kind of unimaginable years ago. I mean, they never would have done that to their hardware partners. Don't
Apple do that anyway?
The word is that they infuriated Dell and HP and Asus and all that stuff. Behind the scenes, they would never make it public, but everybody knew that once the Surface thing was announced.
The thing that made them so was the fact that Microsoft had gone along and looked at what Microsoft had already tendered to them.
Microsoft, they don't develop. And then they don't have their own hardware.
Looked at their designs and then said, "Okay, fine, fair enough." Went away, built its own design, and then told them that said, "No, we don't want you. We're going to use our own design." That's why they were so pissed.
A correction, they do have their own hardware division, but they've never released a laptop or a desktop computer, to my knowledge, before this. So it was a bit of I think, a sort of like, you know what, we'll just release it on our own if you decide not to cooperate with us. But I think for the most part, Dell and HP have been open to moving towards this Windows 8. I think it's already planned that they have agreements in place.
So, I mean, Microsoft themselves have said, you know, look, if you don't want to go to Windows 8, don't go to Windows 8. Stay with Windows 7.
Right. I mean, they have nothing to lose because, remember, at least, it's less than 50% now estimated, but there's a number of people that don't even have internet access, and they're probably still using XP or an earlier version. I mean, this is in the developing areas of the world. But for the most part, there's still like 40% of the population still has Windows XP. Now, the only thing that Windows 8 gives those people on XP is with this Upgrade Advisor software. It allows them to sort of pretend they have an upgrade path. So if you bought Windows 8 in the store and you have Windows XP, all of a sudden you're going to run Windows 8 and it's going to tell you, guess what? You can upgrade Windows XP. You'll lose all your installed files, you'll lose the registry, but you'll still have your files that were in your documents or whatever. So that, you know, that's where they are sort of hacking, putting in a hack for like a half-assed sort of Windows XP migration or upgrade, which isn't really a migration, but it would be enough to sort of calm those people down in XP who are sort of stuck ever since Windows Vista. They never upgraded, and now Windows 7 didn't have the upgrade option at all. I think that what they'll be targeting are people who are still on XP, which is still like 40 to 45% of the market, of the desktop market.
Yeah, but when you think about it, Mike, that's kind of like a false hope sort of pipe dream. You're talking about XP machines sitting out there with 256 or 512 megs of RAM on them. I mean, that's what you're gonna find on XP machines. You know, XP home machines are notorious for, you know, I mean, having, like I said, 256 or 512 megs of RAM.
And as Rich said before, there's no WDDM 1.1 compatibility, and of course, before that, it was XDDM for the video. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how that would work if compatibility even exists with older systems that go that back down the road. Either that, or maybe you just can't run hardware acceleration. I'm not sure.
You know, there's another.
Oh, go ahead.
There's another issue here too, people, that we all have to think about. You know, that we had the Bemis, the Dells, and the Gateways, and whatever. At one time, hardware was a real big business. But nowadays, the business is in getting personal information and integrating it in convenient ways to keep getting more personal information, and to play this cat and mouse game to keep circumventing your ability to block categories off, to get more so they can sell it for advertising. It's all turned into the service business rather than the hardware manufacturing business. That's why Gateway is floundering. Dell's having trouble figuring out what it's going to do. I mean, right now I'm speaking to you. I've got 3 computers, but the one I'm speaking to you on is a $315 Asus netbook because it fits in my saddlebag easily as I'm blasting around in any coffee shops in my office. They can't compete with that. Now, I got on this thing, and it was only a 32-bit Atom chip at the time, for 2 years old, but I sat there and said, well, okay, but it's dual core, so I can go ahead and put 64-bit on it. So I wrote up a thing and told everybody about how I did it and what drivers worked and didn't work, and Asus wouldn't talk to me. But the fact is, today we can do so much with so little hardware that Microsoft recognizes it has to move to this transient throwaway platform. And even though an iPhone's $600 now, I mean, it's still to a certain extent a throwaway item by the time the telephone companies draw the service plans up. They're losing out, and the old Bemis that relied on hardware, HP, Gateway, they're losing out. Microsoft has recognized the players are the ones that integrate software, and they know from the Office days. They know that they own that market share because they had Microsoft Office. Why? Because they started off by giving out a free operating system, MS-DOS. And once all those computers had MS-DOS, they were able to get all of those companies to buy Office. And that made them wealthy. They realized that the software is what's going to do it, and that's why Android right now, heck, Samsung just put out the S3, and what are they doing? They're putting out Jelly Bean today. The operating system is already outdated, Androids. Microsoft needs to get in the market of shifting to change and grabbing that service sector, and that's what their guys in the back room are thinking, I believe.
Right, and I found that to be quite apparent, and I was sort of disgusted by it at first, because they do own the desktop market. But when I did,
can I just interrupt you a second? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh yes, go ahead.
There's some guys here who want to join the meeting.
Are they
Tunisian swag?
No. Those are kids. They tried to join before, and they sort of disrupted. They were spamming the chat. In case you didn't see, Rich sort of caught them on it. If you go on the chat for the conference call, they're just, if you look at their profiles, they're just sort of causing trouble there. So.
Oh, this guy's.
Sorry, I encourage you to ban him
he's spamming
if you
the
can.
crap out of me.
Yeah, just.
Actually, maybe some guys. If we look at the average age here, it's pretty high. Maybe we need them, but perhaps Ross, if you have a second, you can take about a minute and try to chat with them and say, guys, we got some serious things we're trying to talk about, and we really want your input. But would you cut the spam so we can all talk to each other? If you agree to that, you're welcome in. And let them see what they say. Let's say, in other words, grow up, kids.
Right. I mean, we had Tunisian swag in here before for about, I saw
the chat.
And he, he was in here with the microphone, and he, it was almost, could not understand what he was saying whatsoever.
Okay.
But, yeah, we might as well just
hang on.
I don't know. If Ross, if you want to try it again, we could.
I'll tell you one thing that I do. While I think kids, we've all dealt with kids all our lives. We've raised them, we've done whatever. But while they think they're king long before they are in brilliance and genius and whatever, and they didn't think we knew they were taking money out of our wallets at one point in life or whatever, but they do have different ways of thinking. They all have different ways of thinking, and they're much freer, they're much less bound, and I love their input sometimes. As long as you can control it. So I don't know if we can get a couple of them in here. It's probably not a bad idea.
Well, oftentimes, younger kids, I've noticed that they are, they're more idealists. So they do have some defined input that they can put in that's actually pretty interesting, because they haven't become jaded by the whole. Or they haven't let their own experiences sort of make them completely subjective. They sort of still have that ability to have some sort of objective reasoning about stuff. Not saying that we don't, but they just sort of say what they think based on what their group is doing. What their age group and the people that they know are accustomed to. So, yeah, I think if we could get them in and they would be willing to sort of behave, so to speak, sure, if they're serious about it, I'm not sure that they're just jumping in. I think they might be jumping in to sort of act a little bit nuts.
That's right. They may be ordering 16 pizzas for some house that doesn't even know it. Who knows? But on the other hand, if we can get them to grow up a little and give it a try, what the hell? The word I think of when I talk to young people is unbound. They have no minds. That administrative person you and I were talking about that has to have a class to learn Word. Now they just start pushing buttons, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, they throw it out. I mean, I love the unbound nature of their thinking.
Right, and that can often lead to all sorts of new ideas. So yeah, we could we could see, or it could also lead to total anarchy. But something like what was it? That movie, Lord of the Flies. But let's see, how it goes real quick.
Children of the Corn.
Yeah,
I've just got to quickly wish you all a good morning. I have to go and get a few hours sleep. I've got an early start.
All right, Michael.
Michael, pussy.
My wife's over my daughter's, and I have to get my butt over there early in the morning, else I'm in some kind of trouble.
All right, it's too bad to see you go. Hopefully, we'll catch up with you later.
All right, it's nice talking with you, Rio, Colin, and Stephen Metcalf there.
Good night, Michael.
Yeah, take care now. Bye-bye.
Take it easy, Michael.
All right. I suspect Mrs. Whoosh may have been instrumental in his departure. But anyway.
He sounded beat anyway.
Let's see if we can bring these guys back in and see what happens. I don't know. Hold on one second,
These
please.
guys wanted to. I don't know. I tried to talk to them, and I don't know if they're dicking around or not.
Are they responding or causing ruckus? Let's try to bring these guys in again. Hello? See, this is what we were dealing with before. Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Are you guys serious about discussing?
Yeah.
What are you serious about joining the discussion?
Of course, man.
Okay. Well, Randy, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. Let me see. You wanted to bring your friend in, huh? What is his username again?
Wait a minute. Othman Fixio.
Right. I'm trying to see if there's any way for me to add him as well.
I'm getting his chats right now.
Yeah, I don't see him online, though.
I don't either, and that's what baffled me earlier. He's been chatting continuously, and yet I haven't seen his indicator up.
Well, he can set
Anyway,
a Skype
welcome.
indicator to show offline and still do anything he wants to on Skype.
It says it's English in Germany.
Tunsi, and if I'm speaking too quickly, let me know. But we welcome you because we understand that you're on the younger side, and some of us are on the older side. And that sharing of thoughts and thought patterns of interest is very, very important. So if you will, don't waste a lot of time on the chat screen. Just speak to us as we wrestle with this issue of why the resistance to Windows 8. Is it a good concept the way it's been laid out so far? Is it a bad?
Yeah, I see that.
So anything you have to add, you're welcome to.
Before they do, can I add something, please? I might be wrong, but I read the marketing for Windows 8 that they didn't even include a DVD player. And I think if that's true, they've dropped 10% of the market there. Because people who buy software, a computer, they don't want to buy all the hundreds of add-ons at $2, $5, $10, whatever. They just want a complete system that maybe if something gets invented later, they can add on later. But if it's existing technology, existing hardware, what they've got, it should be included as part of the operating system rather than a purchase add-on, which it adds to the confusion. Because if you look at Windows 7, which I've got 3 computers here, XP, Windows, God, I forgot the other one, Windows 7. Vista, and I was thinking of getting a tab with Windows 8 on it. However, if it doesn't, although you can't watch movies on a DVD, you can get these little 32 gigabyte cards with movies on, these SD cards. So people are a little bit confused because Windows 7, for instance, you've got is it 8 versions of Windows 7? And it's all the way through from the basic right the way through to the one which I've got here, which is Ultimate, which is a confusing upgrade. And I think you stretch people's minds in too many directions when they make an operating system so complicated. It should be just one system, the same for all, instead of making about 9 or 10 different cost structures all the way through. I think it's making it more complicated loses the market rather than keeping it for the 98th percentile. Aim the products at the 98th percentile rather than we'll have this system for 10% of the market, this system for 15%, this system for 30%, and then we'll have that one for 10%. And with all the different pricing, it's confusing for the shops and it's confusing for the customer, and it's probably confusing for office managers who are purchasing it. It should just be set one system, and it's cheaper to operate on just one system, surely, and you can sell it cheaper.
Well, this is something that is interesting to discuss because Ross and I are also we've been awarded with the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional Award, and I say that only to let you know that, and this shouldn't be confidential in any way. At least I don't think it is. I certainly hope it's not. I'm pretty sure that it's not. At least I think the questions would be, but hello?
Hello?
Yes, am I still there? Oh, okay. I think the questions would be, but the fact that it exists was not a surprise. We were sent, at least I was sent, I think Ross was also sent one too, a survey asking about how, basically what we thought of Windows 8 and what recommendations we could make. Because we're both Windows IT, Windows Consumer IT Expert awardees. And the feedback, at least the feedback that I gave, I felt that that they are really they would responded to that, at least with the upgrade option. I think overwhelmingly the response was probably, give with the upgrader, give some opportunity to download the software online. Don't make it just available in a box, and make it a bit affordable, because it looks like people will not be happy with the fact that it's basically a tablet OS that'll run on desktops. So, and that's a very simplistic way of describing it, but there are elements, obviously, the Metro user interface that fit that description. So I think if you look at what they're doing now, in at least 38, or what was it, maybe over 38, maybe with 37 markets or something like that, maybe even maybe more than that, maybe it was over 100, I forget. They decided to provide anyone who's used the release preview or anyone buying a new computer with a $39.99 upgrade option for $39.99. And of course, this will differ depending on the currency you're using. If you're using euros or whatever, or British pounds. But this is good because obviously no one wants to pay $150 for this thing, So I think that they're just trying to address user concerns, but they may have such a need to move in this direction that they just can't help themselves but sort of undercut the average desktop user who's really used to using using Windows for productivity purposes. I mean, I use Windows to encode videos, to use FTP, to telnet into and connect into different servers and things like this, and also to do a lot of entertainment stuff. Check my email, go ahead and do business and entertainment, and do a whole multitude of things at the same time. Whereas I think Apple users are a bit more focused on the aesthetics. Yeah, it was 131 markets. Thanks, Randy. I think Apple users are more focused on the aesthetics. They're willing to buy a more expensive product because they're getting the whole banana, so to speak. They're getting a Apple-created system, or so they may think, even though it's really an IBM-compatible PC. It's kind of ironic that they've had this lawsuit with Samsung. Samsung's providing them with their processors. So it's a weird thing that's going on with this situation. But some people, they just have this, they like the look of something and they use it for consumption rather than production. And I think the assumption is that most people are going to be using the internet more, not necessarily these processor and graphic intensive applications. And if they do, well, the miniaturization of the semiconductor and related hardware will ultimately meet that requirement. But I don't know. I just think that there's some logic to what they're doing, but they may not be in step with what the average Windows customer or user, so to speak, is looking for right now. I mean, there is this entire group of people that are sort of disenfranchised with the fact that you won't have the start menu anymore, that the desktop is sort of something you have to navigate to.
Yeah, but that will all pass. That'll be water under the bridge in a few months. But
what was you, Randy? Sorry, just to put in. What was you saying to me yesterday about Windows 8? And this relates exactly to what Collins just said about there not being a DVD player in Windows 8.
Oh, well, I don't know exactly, Ross, but I mean, all I do is click on a movie and it plays. It plays in a Metro app called Movie.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And that's the thing about Windows 8. You don't need a third-party app for a Windows.
Yeah, I click on a PDF and it opens in Reader. There's a lot to be said positive for Windows 8. But if anybody saw, speaking to what Steve was talking about and what Mike was talking about, Bill Gates did an interview. I posted a link to it with Charlie Rose last Wednesday, I think. I'm not sure. But in any event, he spoke exactly to that regard as to an Apple iPad being more for people who are, what Steve was saying, consumers of information, not creators, not making documents or spreadsheets or stuff like that. They're mainly out there to get their email and read it, get their daily Facebook fix and those kind of things. So what Bill Gates was talking about is meshing this hybrid device, which would serve both purposes, both for the consumer of information, I'm saying, and those people who wish to generate content. And I don't mean Facebook content. I mean people who are going to generate their spreadsheets or their 3D wireframe modeling or whatever they're going to do. As a matter of fact, they've already addressed one of the shortcomings in RT by including, when I say RT, I mean Windows 8 for ARM, by including a version of Microsoft Office with it. That will run on RT. Oh, really? So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that interview is well worth watching because that's the kind of rock and a hard place that Microsoft finds itself right now. They have no market share on a phone. They have no market share on a tablet. So to test this new hybrid bundling of an operating system that's going to be cross-platform with handheld devices and desktops, it was left to us. Desktop users. That was the only beta testers they had were us guys. So that's why you can't kind of easily dismiss the Metro environment, although it's not at all hard to work around and go into and use the Windows desktop. So anyhow, just that interview, my point was I wanted you guys to know that there's an interview out there. Charlie Rose. I don't know how many of you people are familiar with Charlie Rose, but he's a American news talking head kind of guy. And Gates did quite an interview. The first 28 minutes of it wasn't all that interesting, but from about the 28-minute mark to the end is very, very informative as to what he sees and how excited he is about this new Surface platform and the the cross-platform handheld device / desktop operating system. Yeah, and it's important to note, and Tim Cook, I believe is his name. He's a bigwig with Apple. Apple is close on the heels of doing something very similar, and with their cross-platforming their Mountain Lion OS / iOS and making something similar, a hybrid operating system that will work cross-platform. And some people are thinking that's a good idea, and a lot of people are saying no, that's crossing a toaster with a electric iron. Huh?
With a bicycle. No, I mean, I think it's a really exciting time at the moment. Especially with, all right, it might all go down in flames and it might all end in tears, but I think it's, it could be really, really exciting. It's this whole change and shift, and because the hardware shifting as well. I mean, there's changes
absolutely.
in that. So it's
yeah. I mean, Microsoft is pushing OEM hardware vendors to. I mean, the first thing they did was say, hey, no 2 touch points on any Windows 8 touchscreen. It's going to have 5 touch points minimum. So when you've got a Surface environment where you can do your little zoom in and zoom out. You got 5 touch points, simultaneous touch points is what I'm getting at. So many of the earlier versions, if they weren't, I don't know if anybody ever actually ran Windows XP for tablet OS, but it was virtually stylus based and a single touch point. I mean, you couldn't do much with it.
Never tried it.
That's it. Tunisian, have you listened long enough now to have some thoughts on some of this? You still there?
No, he's not in the talk window.
Okay, he left already. Okay. Now, the points you all are bringing up are great, but I have to bring in, and I'm not trying to be stodgy in thinking, the cogs of business. We talk about this huge recession. We talk about the fact that we have a 7.2% unemployment rate. Well, 84% of the nation, and that might be as high as 14 or what, 84% of the nation still employed. They go to offices, they turn on their computer, and they work all day long. And whatever they do, they drive trucks, they come back, they load their information and report it on there. I think Microsoft would make a huge mistake if they abrogated that business sit-down computer, the desktop market we're talking about. On the other hand, I absolutely understand why they have to get their foot in the door and compete with Android and iPhone. They're probably more concerned about Android because, quite honestly, the people in Rwanda and Cameroon are not buying iPhones. Forget it.
But the people in China are.
Some of them are. But look at the market. I just gave you the stats, though, for the U.S., 15%, 27%. If you look at the stats for China, I promise you it's going to be a broader gap. Android is going to be very influential, and Samsung knows that. I yield.
I agree completely, only because as soon as domestic sales here in the United States of Android-related phones started exceeding the iPhone, Google continued to publish its statistics on sales numbers, but it was actually Apple that decided not to on a quarterly basis. They stopped publishing their results, and that's sort of an indicator. Pretty much unanimously, everyone sort of agrees that Android is now, outselling the iOS platform, at least in the United States, and probably in emerging markets too, eventually, because it's just more affordable. But as far as how much it costs Apple to make an iPhone,
they wouldn't disclose in the latest Samsung case. They would not disclose their profit margin on those devices for whatever reason. Maybe that was with the tablet. I don't know if it was the tablet or the phone, but either way, they're probably making a killing on the on these phones because they're basically paying indentured servants in China this like slave wage to produce these things, which is horrible. But it does look like Android just because it's a more open platform. And if you look at the Samsung Galaxy S3, that is a significant phone, and it's much better. Yeah, they tried to stop it. They tried to have an injunction against it. That phone will come out, and it will not be stopped. Although they did stop the Galaxy Tab.
What did they stop it on? I mean, on what grounds are they trying to stop that phone on?
Oh, well, patent conflicts. The game they're playing that's over our heads and so irritating. Nothing but puny billions of patents they've all filed that are garbage because our patent laws are such garbage.
Right. I mean, the people at the patent office don't even understand the technology. That's what's going on, and they're just allowing these companies to patent anything.
And each country has their own patents as well. There isn't an international patent in the world. There's a patent system, but there isn't an international patent. In other words, if you think of an idea in America, you patent it in America, but if somebody can buy that product in America, go to China and make millions and sell them in France or Germany or Holland or Belgium. So you then have to patent it in China, then you have to patent it in Japan, then you have to patent it in Germany. Wherever the markets are, you have to patent it in those countries. So then somebody says, oh, well, let's make them in India then and sell them to Botswana or whatever. So there needs to be an international patent, but that's a separate issue. But the patents, I mean, wasn't it Facebook who had to give $66 million to rowers because they said, will you write us a Facebook for some American university? Did you watch the Facebook movie?
Yeah, but
and they sued again.
And that was something that had been patented, and they had to pay $66 million. So there's a lot of money in it.
Yeah, but you know something? This is the dark side of computing we all hate to dabble in, because the claim jumpers that ran out and got everything close to some corporate name so they could sell it for $1,000 on a website. And the fact that what was Motorola, about 17,000 patents, that was the reason for the purchase price of an entire corporation. That stuff stinks. It stinks, and it's clogging up the system. It's wasting billions in legal fees and tying up things.
Keeps the lawyers happy.
Don't like that. We don't like
to give you an example.
Though, back to this, I want to move away from this though and get back to Windows 8 and reality, because the reality is Google is already surpassed by puts on Apple, because Google's already surpassing at an incredible rate for the reasons you just mentioned, Mike. When I go down to my local coffee shop, and being a nice old gracious 65-year-old with a great-looking motorcycle and still in shape, you know, the kids come to me when they get pregnant or whatever, and they want to talk about it. And it's a nice, wonderful stage in life. But these kids are all buying the Android. Why? Because they think when they get a really good job, they'll buy an iPhone, but they can't afford it right now. What they can afford is an Android. And the S3 is already being sold in Sprint, AT&T, and T-Mobile. It's going to be in all the platforms very shortly. And it is a sexy machine, as David Pogue just wrote an article on last week. I yield.
It's already shipping for Verizon, just so you know. The pre-orders are shipping, and I know because I ordered one quite a while ago. I thought that was a ingenious device. It has face recognition, proximity sensors, all sorts of amazing stuff. But I was going back to the patent issue, not to harp on it because we should go get over that. But one of the patents described in the case was that Apple claimed they had a patent for pinch to zoom, which is the process of taking an image, you know, touching it on a touchscreen device and pinching the image to zoom in on it. I mean, that's just a crazy thing. And then they claim they had a unified search patent So you couldn't search your contacts on the phone. You couldn't search your phone and also search the internet with Google search at the same time. And this was something that was in Ice Cream Sandwich that got the phone banned in the United States. Then these two companies, Samsung and Apple, they end up having an agreement to sell the same product in Australia. So, this is just crazy.
Oh, it's dirtier than that. I was
right,
in Ebon Village in the Malaysian state of Sarawak in northern Borneo, and along comes Monsanto and finds out what they do to reduce prostate growth, that they lick some damn leaf out there in the jungles, and it's worked for 16,000 years, and Monsanto patents the son of a bitch. This whole game disgusts me. I recognize why serious intellectual property needs to be protected, but the games they're all playing today sucks.
Greed,
the
greed, it's just greed.
And very much with Apple, it's a last resort sort of thing, because if you look really into it, Samsung is a semiconductor company, but Apple absolutely is not. They're primarily a software company. They don't develop their own processors, and they're highly reliant on Samsung for their ARM processors. So, ultimately, I think Apple will. They're already losing market share, at least with the mobile devices, and it will be Android that comes out in control of those two areas.
And plus, one of the biggest things in Apple's downfall is, of course, Mr. Jobs isn't there anymore. Leading from the front.
No, and they already, they had they were a part of this environmental program where they were gold certified because they were environmentally friendly, and this was something that Steve Jobs pioneered. And it was just revealed today in some article that I read that their newer devices will not be. You won't be able to take the battery out of the case, and you won't be able to recycle the device, and it won't be environmentally friendly. Now that's sort of a environmentalist issue, but I think it sort of reflects the new mindset at the company, which is let's make a profit no matter what.
Not removing the battery, that's a copy of what Sony used to do with their little MP3 players. You couldn't replace the battery.
Right.
So they're all copying each other. But there's a principle in patenting where there's a rule where it would have been invented anyway. And you can't patent something which would have happened anyway. In other words, patenting something is supposed to be an out-of-the-box idea. It's not supposed to be, that you would have got to, everyone would have got to that stage anyway, just by walking 3 more steps. But the lawyers, they're the problems with this patenting thing. They're all reinterpreting what the law is rather than looking at inventions and patenting as part of a conceptual thing rather than a phase.
You're exactly right,
Windows
and
7,
that's why I hate to waste time with this.
You design Windows 7, Windows 5, 6, 7, or whatever. Then it's like somebody saying, right, I'm going to invent Windows 10 and patent Windows 10 brand name. I mean, they can't. There's no logic to that, because somebody could do it and say, oh, look, I've created a tiny little operating system, called it DOS 10 or whatever. It becomes inane, and they should all step back from it and stop giving the lawyers big mansions and yachts.
Yeah, paying the wages.
Well, I think that the process really is, and it's identifiable when you look at who's issuing what patent infringement cases against whom. When Yahoo's basically been destroyed as a company, and they filed all sorts of patent claims against Facebook. And obviously what that was for was sort of a last-ditch effort to try to save their business. And when you look at what happened, at least it looks like Facebook came to some sort of patent licensing agreement with Yahoo so that Yahoo could continue their business. It looks like that was the hand that Apple was trying to sort of force force Samsung's hand in that sort of type of arrangement. You scratch your back, I'll scratch mine, sort of thing in the United States. Unfortunately, in that case with the Galaxy Tab, it ended up with the worst possible scenario for consumers like us who just want to buy the thing and maybe provide them to employees or people or clients or people that we know or work with and family and friends. It just ended up where this judge decided to file an injunction preventing its sale until Samsung would acquiesce and basically bribe Apple into allowing them to sell it again. But the what happened was Google just said, well, we'll just change that feature in Jelly Bean and re-release it in a week. So, it was really Apple's last-ditch attempt to try to prevent the sale of a product that was superior to their own. I mean, when companies and businesses and even people can't compete based on their own merit, well, they start resorting to lawsuits, at least in the business world. For the most part,
this whole thing about patents, so it reminds me of the fact, I was on Wall Street in the 80s, and I actually approached Apple when I was building an automated bond trading system, and it was before it all took off. This was like 88. Instinet was trying to do it. They started the same year, too, and they succeeded because they had Reuters behind them. I finally folded it after $900,000 in losses. But I remember meeting in a Mac world with Steve Jobs' tech guy, and he thought, great, we'll do it. And what I wanted was a trading system for the top 1,000 institutional investors globally where they could trade bonds back and forth and bypass the floor. I had just left Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns, and the average employee was $285,000 in those days on that floor, and all they did was pick up a phone and pass information back and forth from A to B and take out their cut. So I thought all of this can be automated. And I sat there with the tech, and they loved it. They brought in the other guys in their team. They loved it. Boy, they were ready, and this was not going to be sole Mac. It was going to be Windows or MS-DOS, Mac, everything. Unix, I wanted them all to be able to access it. Well, they talked to the boss that night, and he did not want to do it. He didn't want to get involved. He didn't want to. All he wanted was arts and entertainment and education. And I admire Steve Jobs for that commitment, but God, what a mistake he made. He gave up that 90-something% of the business market because of that attitude. Now, having said that, we all recognize that this patent game that's taking place today is like Goldman Sachs making 90% of their earnings in non-IPO capital transfer related issues. It's about spinning and leverage and just playing their own portfolio with market games. That's exactly what all these patent things are, market games to throw roadblocks in front of each other. And in fact, it's causing everything to be more expensive, wasting a lot of our time and everyone else's. And it disgusts me. But the fact is, this is what people do. I yield. Ottoman, you haven't spoken yet. Do you have anything you'd like to contribute to the discussion?
I don't think he's there, Steve.
Well, he's on my board still. He's logged in. There's 6 of us on there, 7 of us on the call.
Right. I'm not sure if he's just listening or if he's away.
I was hoping that he might be listening and might want to contribute, but what the heck? If he chooses to, he can. Yeah. Anyway,
he seems to be on hold.
Yeah, could be. Hell,
yeah, he's on hold.
Could be having a party in the dorm. I would be. Anyway, guys, where have we gone? Let's try to summarize where we've been on this and what the intended gaps of this call were that have not been met. Ross? Mike? You guys?
Well, I don't know if Ross or Randy,
considering we've been at it for 3 hours, this call started at 6:24 for Ross, Mike, and myself, and Whoosh, and Rich. So I'd say we pretty much exhausted. Well, they've exhausted me anyway.
Well, I mean, what about? Can we just round off because I mean, originally this meeting was called about the website and about Windows 8 website, and so
Exactly.
I think we ought to sort of, if you guys are up for it, is just perhaps spend, I don't know, a little time just sort of.
First of all, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just for a second, Ross, can I ask both Steve and Colin, are you guys members of the website?
Sure.
Oh,
both
okay.
7 and 8. Both 7 and 8. Yes, but not hugely active because I only step in when I feel like there's something I want to contribute to.
How about you, Colin?
I'm a very busy guy.
I found it while trying to research Windows 8 because I was looking at, hopefully, I was looking forward to a 3D tablet coming out with Windows 8 on it, or I was looking at a Windows 8 phone and comparing it to some of the new phones they've got out there. We've got the S3 in Japan. On the shelves, the Japanese have brought out quad-core Japanese phones now, which have got everything and the waterproof. You can go swimming with it and make calls underwater if you can gargle. But the markets are moving with phones, and Microsoft, if it wants to, it got to the front of the pack by coming up with Windows with the front desktop. When it got away from the 1985, when it brought out the front screen, people bought Windows programs, Windows computers, but now the screen isn't attractive anymore, and the market share's going down because of that. You're not going to get people buying the Windows smartphones because it's not attractive enough. And it needs to compete with the Apple and Android. There's a reliability issue. There was Windows needs to do a Lexus. It needs to say, right, we're still Toyota, but we'll do a Lexus, and Windows needs to do something like that. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit there because I lost the thread.
Oh no, I just wondered if you both were members of the website. I'm looking forward to.
Oh no, I was browsing it because I wanted to. I get new hardware here and there, and I was looking at moving away from carrying a laptop around to writing on the internet or writing Word documents, and I was looking at getting one of these tablets, and I thought maybe Microsoft might be thinking about bringing out a 3D one with Windows 8 on it, with a high spec system behind it, but I wasn't sure what hardware Microsoft was heading towards and what it wasn't. I didn't know if they were teamed up with anyone to make something like that. That was why I was on the site having a look around. So I just joined the site. I just gone and had a look.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly, whether you're just a visitor or a member or whatever, you're definitely welcome to join the discussion. I think that as a general meeting, there were some issues that we want to discuss about the site, but since you two seem to both sort of be casual,
more like a customer than anything.
Well, we would consider you definitely clients of the site, users of the site, and our general goal over the years has been to, in many ways, make the site usable so that you keep finding an interest in using it or sign up. Was there what was your impression of the site, honestly, when you started using it? I think that would be like the best feedback we could get, really.
Right. I think there's that much competition out there on websites. I think CNET's popular because when you go there, you can get something for going there. But if you go to your site, the Windows sites, you can get some information about an update or whatever. But for people who put input in, there's a lot of people nowadays. They go places for, even if it's an insignificant thing like karma or whatever they call that. They go there for like a points reward thing or something for actually spending time there.
Loyalty programs.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that with shops, etc. But everywhere's got it now, and it's a tiny little inspirational thing. You know, 1 in 100 members wins a free program or something. You know, a new MP3 program or it'd be beneficial for the site to give a little away on a raffle or whatever. You know, once a month or once every so often, just to keep people interested in. I'll pop back there because there's an opportunity to get an upgrade to my Windows platform, or there's an opportunity for this or for that. It doesn't have to be anything of any real value, but it's just a little something what you can benefit from, and that you get 100 people go for the chance of one person getting something. But if you go there and it's the same stuff as what they can read anywhere or similar, I think people need the added incentive these days for spending an hour or 2 hours a week on a particular site. And as I say, the sites which are very popular are the ones what they get something from. Facebook, they get dates from it or share information with friends, and with other sites you get bonus karma points for spending X number of viewpoints on there, and people give you a little bonus each time. I mean, you could do that, with people who visit the site. If they get 100 people, give them a tick for having a good idea or something, and then at the end of the year they tally up, and then they get emailed, or they can download a free image manipulation program or DVD player program or whatever it is. I don't know. I haven't thought about it that deeply, but it's a positive feedback thing for the consumer, for the user, for the people giving ideas or something, because people do like to give input to anything in life, on whether it's a newspaper site or a website or whatever. People like to give feedback, and a lot of companies that they ask for it. It's not just a communication string. It's a two-way street. The companies like Microsoft can benefit from positive information from consumers, but consumers give up if they give ideas and concepts away for years and years, and then they get stung for $300 for a Windows upgrade to go from ordinary Windows 7 to Windows 7 Ultimate or whatever. It's like a one-way street a lot of the time, ideas and information, and it's nice for the user to think, there's a chance of getting something back from this. Does that make sense? Or do you just do the site?
We have tried it. If you remember, Mike, we have tried things like that.
Yeah, at one point we did give away a copy of Windows 7, and it wasn't really that. It didn't really inspire many people to do much of anything, except there was this one guy who complained. He was sort of a troll master, but he came into the site and started asking for a free copy. But we, on the Windows 8 side, it's fairly new, but we have experience with we have actually experimented with the concept of getting sort of rewards on your profile for
for certain activities and doing certain things and being active on the website and receiving points for that activity. Now, what those points could be used for is something that we've only sort of explored.
There could be a thread on that alone. Yeah.
Every once in a while, yeah. And because the Windows 8 site is fairly new and we are still looking into ways to improve it, I wouldn't think... I think we would be open to bringing back that, at least like you said, what you would describe as a karma system. We would probably be very very forward looking on bringing that back fairly soon, if only to sort of give people who use the site something to look forward to. For example, if you were to contribute some articles of interest or even questions of interest and participate on the site regularly, then even if it's not something that's, how do I put it, it doesn't have any monetary value, but it may have a value to you as seeing that, well, yeah. you've done this and this is what you've done, and here's like some sort of points towards that goal. So yeah, I mean, we may not, we're not directly affiliated with Microsoft, and we're certainly not subsidized by them or paid by them in any way. The people that run the site and people that have used the site have been awarded by Microsoft for their contributions on the website. Whether or not that will happen again is something that's completely, up to them. But certainly, I think we'll look into the idea of moving forward in that direction at least a little bit.
Can I just say, I think one of the reasons why it didn't work so well, that sort of thing, is because I think the reason, and not so much, I'm not really talking so much about the Windows 8 site, because obviously it's obviously not new. Windows 8 isn't actually out yet, so people aren't really using it a great deal. But let's say, for example, the Windows 7 site, I mean, the biggest reason I would say that a lot of people come to us is because, first and foremost, they've got a problem. And so they first really want that problem being dealt with, and then sometimes that person will stay on and become a regular poster, and sometimes they won't. And I think that's why the incentive side of what we're talking about, I think that's why it only has a limited success, because
I suppose one of the things about that is an idea. When you go to a website, you can't immediately rate it. You can save it, but then it gets lost in the other 10,000 saved websites you've got. There isn't actually a rating system, in stars, as to whether it's important to you as a site or not. So you could kind of have 1-star sites, 2-star sites, 3-star sites, 4-star, 5-star sites, and you could have that on your internet browser, on or whichever one you use. When you click to save the site that you're looking at, click it if you think it's a very good site, well laid out, easy to read, easy to communicate, and easy to log into. Then you click 5 stars, and then when you want to look at your 5-star sites, it's easier to pop it in and find it and bring it up again. Because I think like anything, when you've got millions of places to go, it's hard to remember which sites were dealing with what and where, and I think everything gets lost in the chaos of numbers. So anything that will help people to reorganize their sites better is a plus, isn't it?
Actually, let me.
The way you do that with your music and videos, don't you?
Colin,
you rate them.
Colin, I'm a different consumer, but let me. We're all busy. We want to try to get through this call. That people come to tech sites, let's call it normal intellectual types, when they have a problem. That's it. They don't want to live here. They'd rather camp. They'd rather make love. They'd rather go out, hike, whatever. They come to tech sites. Uh-oh, I'm losing some sound here. They come to, tell me if you can't hear me. They come to tech sites.
I can hear, but I think Joseph has joined us.
Yes, I'm sorry for the noise there. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, you just have a feedback loop going, Joe. I don't know if there's any way you can try to eliminate it.
That's it.
There you go.
There you.
Sorry.
They come to tech sites.
No problem.
They come to tech sites because they need a solution. That's really it. They're not looking for social connection. Now, some of them get there, and they find social connection, and they become a major resident there on the site. But most people come there to get answers, and that's a reality. It's a thankless business to a certain extent. I am so many of my friends and business associates computer consultant simply because they want answers, and I'm kind enough to give them to them for free. But on the other hand, you're looking for a way to support your site and keep it going and get greater interaction. Well, you know what? At the bow wave of every new operating system, you will see more activity, and then it will dwindle off because fewer people will be involved. And now that they've overlapped Vista 7 and 8, each site, if I go to a Vista Tech site, which is on one of my computers, that still has a few, I just got this, and they're not getting it anymore. The fact is, most message board systems have a title capability. They send you a note and say, hey, we really appreciate what you've contributed, and we're now making you a call them a Quatsa user. And that goes next to their little icon on the left side. It makes them feel better, and it may encourage some to come back. But in the end, what you probably want to do is what the rest of the industry is doing, and that's putting up did you find this solution helpful? Tell your friends and save them the frustration. Twitter, tweet, boom, boom, Facebook, bam, bam, bam.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea.
Got to do it, Ross, because you know something, every computer user at some point runs into some of the same problems. And while you're not interested in totally selling their information, that is the reality of today's industry. It's where Microsoft's even trying to go. So what you need to do is build an interface, and I hate to put more work on you because, like I say, this is a thankless business. You give far more than you take. But if you do that, then they all of a sudden get instant knowledge about how to solve why the Windows security system disappeared from their services list on Task Manager and how they fix it. My thoughts.
Yes, just so Joe knows, just to give you guys a background, Joe was an administrator on the site, sort of briefly, and I've known him for years, going back to the late 90s, I would say. And he works at chacha.com. We've been sort of just discussing different ideas and inventions and stuff like that, and different social media marketing stuff, just as friends. But he just wanted to join the discussion to give his thoughts on some of the stuff that we're talking about. And he was running a little bit late, but he's here now. So welcome, Joe, to the discussion.
Hey, Joe.
And Joe?
Yep, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, cool. We also I also wanted to bring up that point that you said. Well, most of not most, but almost all of our team here are volunteers. I mean, that's how little that we actually derive from advertising. If it was possible to pay everyone as employees or create a revenue sharing schematic somehow, that would definitely be something we put in place. In fact, I discussed this earlier today with Randy about possibly doing that or trying it soon. But really, I still consider the Windows 7 site to be relevant and to continue to have a continual, sort of a continuum of viewers
as time goes on.
Absolutely.
I just found that, and we found this throughout the course of our interactions with people and through looking through historic data, that most of the people that come to our site are like you two gentlemen, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but most people never end up never signing up for an account. They just end up sort of browsing, and they don't actually even, the majority of individuals don't end up landing on the main page. They end up landing on a landing page for a question, for an answer to a question they were looking for. What we were looking to do is exactly what was suggested earlier, which would be to give some sort of social networking incentive for people to continue using the site in the form of, as was recommended, some sort of like, well, hey, you've used the site for this long, you get this badge or trophy for, doing this or doing that. Well, we have that capability already. We can add it, and it would take about, an hour or two to set up. And we could also go ahead and provide some sort of system of questions and answers that would take a lot more work, but it is possible to add. It actually is something that we've thought about, creating sort of a question and answer only section where the information has to be posed as a question. We can then tag it as a question with metadata and tag an answer with metadata as well. This would be more easily indexed by the search engines, and if the problem is resolved, the person could sort of use a number system to decide which was the best answer, or the plurality of people visiting the site could use a number system to decide which was the best post made in that thread. In fact, we do have a rating system for threads, but not for actual posts. We have a like system, so if you like something that was written, you can like it. But most of these features are incumbent upon someone registering on the site, if only to prevent people from spamming the site. But anyway, go ahead. I don't know, Joe, it sounded like you wanted to blurt out something or something.
Well, yeah, I just had 3 ideas on what you just said. So I think you definitely need, who was it that was speaking earlier? Was that Mike or?
That was, I believe that was Steven.
Was it Steven?
And
yeah, Joe,
some
this is Steve Metcalf in Reno. Well, actually in Tahoe, Nevada. Just having a good time in the Sierras.
Yeah. So, Steve, I do believe, having the ability to mark a question as answered, obviously, if you've ever been to the Microsoft forums, Mike, it kind of solves the problem that you're talking about. So what they do there is it's a forum format, so you don't have to change anything there, but they allow the final poster or the final answer to be marked as solved by the original question, the person that asked the original question. And what happens is the person that solves the question then sums it up at the end of the post, and that's marked as the solution. So all of a sudden, now you have the question being the first post, usually at least, and usually the last post being the answer to that question and marked by the person as, hey, yeah, this solved my problem. What you could do with that data then is something like, I don't know if you guys remember Experts Exchange, but about, 7 or 8 years ago when I was in the industry of just fixing computers at my buddy's local PC shop, I did that for a while when I was underemployed. But that site had a whole bunch of wealth of information, but they had a catch. So if you went to the site, you asked your question, there were some predefined answers, and you found the answer, you could only see the first couple sentences of the answer. To get the rest of the answer, you had to sign up to the site to actually see the rest. Now, that was completely free, but you still had to sign up to get the answer. I think that might be something you look at. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with you. I think, something on these, there's always going to be a lot of peepers. But the day I got Windows 7 on this little silly Asus netbook on which I'm speaking to you today, I went out and looked for a Windows 7 site and found yours and signed up as a cyberbiker, because I knew I would run into problems and I would need answers, and I simply wanted a dialogue on it, not just peep. Well, That's the way normal people are. Now, there's always a lot of peepers, too, that just don't want to take the time to even sign up. And I don't think there's much you can do about those. Throw them out. They're always going to be there. What you want to do is bring in the people that are willing to dialogue, and they're all looking for answers. Most of them are. They have a problem. They don't understand it. They do a search. The only reason, Mike, you might consider that answer question tag capability is because answers.yahoo.com and answers.google.com have both kind of forced that on the industry. Once upon a time, we all simply went to our search box, whether it was Bing, Google, Yahoo, whatever, and typed in Windows security systems disappeared. And up would come a bunch of links, and we start clicking through them. Now, that answer question tag system tends to move some to the top. So that's a business decision on your point as to whether you want to spend the time to do it. But you're always going to have peepers that won't sign in for anything. And if I were you, I'd throw them overboard. I really would. Or give them an opportunity to hit Facebook and send it to their friends, and thereby giving you their data. But you're always going to have members who have serious questions. Normally it's in the early several months of their new operating system. And then they fade off, like me, quite honestly. And then you're going to have some people that feel some bonding and kinship and thought it was really cool, and they want to be a part of this friendship circle. I yield.
Well, that's what we're focusing on. The people that are interested in actually... There's a strong argument to be made, and this is kind of silly, but it's the truth. We actually depend on the people who never register on the site for most of the advertising revenue that does come into the site. They provide actually more advertising revenue than anyone that ever registers for the site will, because we provide the option to our members to actually disable all advertising on the website. So in that sense, it's actually good that we have these people that are just lurking around looking for answers, because technically they'll never register for the site. They'll always see advertisements, and that drives revenue going towards the site, the continued development of the site, the hosting of the site, all of the stuff that comes with that, the content delivery network for the site, everything involving the funding of the site. But so those people, we don't actually want to get rid of them. We actually want them to find the content that they're looking for, but also give them an easier way to sort of join the site. Now, if we just open the floodgates and allow anyone to post messages, this creates a unique problem. Well, not a unique problem, but potentially a unique problem for us, in that there is an enormous amount of traffic coming to the site that is just absolute junk. People that just are illiterate, the spam, and all sorts of stuff from all over the world. So if they, we sort of have resigned ourselves to the fact that if someone can't take the 2 seconds to register on the site and provide an email verification, then there's no use in allowing them to post a message, because ultimately, and most bulletin board systems have taken up this sort of mantra, is that if they won't register, they're probably going to cause a problem, which we from experience have found to be 100% the case. In fact, we do not data mine people's information. We do not try to sell their user information when they register. Our privacy policy that we've created legally prohibits us from doing so intentionally, because it's just not the type of market we want to be in. In fact, the advertising revenue for the site, were the sites to receive much more traffic, would be substantial enough to be able to begin the early process of hiring at least a couple employees for the site. So, or creating a situation where we could actually distribute the ads based on who posted messages. Someone could link their own advertisements to their own messages. So in that sense, where, you know, we have a traffic problem in the fact that we aren't getting enough unusual people just looking for information. So we're trying, you know, I'm always trying to find ways, and I think most of us are when we go into these discussions about how we can interest more people in joining the community, or at least being attracted to it in some way, enough to spend more time in coming back. But we do have, I would say about 15 to 20% of the people who visit the site do come back at least 2 or 3 times over the course of a month. But we do not, the vast majority visits once, looks for something, maybe they find it, maybe they don't. It's difficult to tell. And then they just take off. So that, I mean, I think that's the same for the majority of these types of websites. But to sort of retain those people, I think we need to actually have more people interested in helping others and identifying those people and bringing them into our system, while also providing more incentives to use the website, which would, of course, you know, go back to providing some sort of like reward system or loyalty-based system. Even if it starts off with a non-monetary thing, and then every once in a while we run like some sort of giveaway or something. That's definitely something that can be done based on the affiliations we have with multiple different companies that provide software. It's something that we could definitely arrange, probably on an annual basis, or
in your capital base, Mike. I don't know how you're capitalized, but deep down, the way to get people to come to the site's first time is to hang an ad right there on Amazon for everyone that looks at a hardware purchase for the Windows platform, and do the same thing for Best Buy. If you're the first one to write that says you got a Windows problem, come to our site, we'll solve it, or we solve problems. That starts to catch their eye right off the bat. Even if you could stick literature in every single computer they sell. I get about 5 flyers every time I buy a laptop. I don't know how much they charge for that, but that gets them to your site. The casual users, the peepers as I call them, and I obviously showed a little disregard for peepers because they contribute little, but I guess your advertising revenue point is well taken. It makes a lot of sense, so you need to find a way to get them, and I don't know how you do that. As far as volunteers, that's the toughie, because there you've got to establish a brotherhood, a cohesion, someone that feels like this is a place I want to spend my time because I'm respected. I have the time, which most don't, as you know, and I'm willing to allocate 2 hours of my day or 1 hour a day or 1/24 of my life to come in and answer questions and deal with problems. And we all know those kinds of people on techie sites. And those sites are blessed that those people exist. That's the part I'm not a part of, because I don't know where you find those kinds of people. It's tough, because really talented people are really busy. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you're actually speaking to most of them. And not most of them, but at least a fraction of them. A lot of them aren't here right now.
I'm too busy.
Yeah, Joe is definitely too busy. But, you know, it's either done for fun or for enjoyment. Hopefully not for too much self-gratification where, you know, you're doing it to boost your ego in some sort of maniacal way. We get those people too. So we have a whole smorgasbord of different personalities. And I would say that it's a very organic sort of thing where people just sort of appear, and if they have the time commitment to make and they want to do it, you know, I set up these sites primarily not to make a fortune, but really to actually provide an archival system where people could look up information, and also find resolution to their problems, and also, you know, have a tech support site where you could find people of similar interests and sort of make friends with them. I mean, it's actually a very basic idea that is not necessarily capitalist in its intent. I mean, the whole goal of the site is not to drive, enormous profits or expand to take over the whole world, but certainly to at least every year have a few more people on the site or see it be a bit more successful. Yeah, sure, that's a goal that we always look towards. So I think that these ideas, integrating them one way or the other, is something that requires cohesion. And the last time we really advertised the fact that we're looking for new team members to join as volunteers, we did get an enormous number of responses. So I mean, we could do that again and see what happens, but I think the current deviation is where we have this Windows 8 site that sort of looks exactly like the Windows 7 site with the same exact features. And anytime a feature is implemented on one side, it's always implemented on the other, which is actually a good thing in a lot of ways, but it also sort of throws people off. And they're like, well, what's the difference between this side and the other side? Well, the reality is there is no clear difference, except that it's a different subject. So we're not using a traditional business model at all. In fact, it's almost as if we're trying to help as many people as we can, but we don't want it to be just a help site. And it never actually was until quite recently, I would say about 2010, maybe, Ross, that we started seeing the casual people who wanted to talk about technology sort of disappear, and then we just had an influx of my computer's broken, all is lost, help. So we need to get the people that are interested in talking about technology back, if only because it's interesting and it drives interest, and it's a publication, and someone posts something that's interesting, other people want to read it, and it's sort of a self-perpetuating thing that never ends. And as long as we have the revenue coming in to increase server capacity and chain databases across servers and stuff, we could keep doing it forever. So for me, it started out as a hobby, and I think it'll end as a hobby, to be quite honest with you. And I think for most people, that's the way most forum sites work. I mean, we don't want to be the next Facebook, we just want people to enjoy the site as much as they can. So your feedback is definitely appreciated in more ways than I can possibly express. With years of business expertise and background, I mean, where else could we get the information from? Who else could provide it in that way? So,
guys, listen, it's 4:05 here. I'm going to have to hit the sack, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it is getting pretty late over in the United Kingdom. So
one last point, Mike, and I understand your dilemma. I really do. I've faced business challenges all my life. Your Win 7 audience and your Win 8 audience are dramatically different. The Win 7 audience are a lot of people that bought a computer and had Win 7 on it, and they need to learn how to fix it. The Win 80 audience are those people who don't have a necessary business task to perform. They can play. They have an extra box. They can throw it on there even though it doesn't have drivers, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that, and just piddle with it. So it's a highly technical crowd that's willing to reach out and just play with a thing. They are very, very different audiences. I yield.
Yeah, that's basically agreed upon. I think as time goes on, that will actually change, and that may be in our benefit. But yeah, I think that we have to start looking at that in a different way. But yeah, if Ross, you have to go, that's no problem.
No, okay, great.
Good to have you on.
All Ross, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Yes,
yeah,
and you, Colin. Nice to meet you. I hope talk to you guys again soon.
Thanks.
Yeah, certainly. Hope that you guys will entertain us again and join back again if possible.
I'm still reading your site. All right. Put a little line underneath register. We don't give your information away.
It's actually on there should be a privacy policy, at least on the Windows 7 site. I'm not sure that we should have added it to the Windows 8 site. Let me see if we did.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, certainly we did.
All right. Good night, guys.
But take care, Ross.
Good night, Ross.
No, Ross.
Randy, you sound like you're about to pass out. Do you need to?
Yeah, we're working on a 4-hour phone call here.
And Joe just jumped in. Rich, are you capable of robotic stamina to continue, or?
I can probably continue for about half an hour or so.
Well, maybe we should just everybody mix a cocktail and come back to the table in 2 minutes. So.
You know what? I'm going to go grab a beer, and I'll be back for a couple hours if anybody
It works for me. It works for me. I just wore that's why the coffee and black velvet.
Well, yeah, Randy, if you need to take off, that's fine. I mean, we can continue and just...
Yeah. I kind of hate to miss out on it, but I've got other stuff I really need to take care of, and I've been trying to take care of it, and it's creating a distraction now for me. So
no, it's fine. Go ahead. Thank you for joining the call. Thanks for being part of it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, and Colin and Steve. Great meeting you, and Joe, of course, I know you from way back. So yeah, I hope to see you guys all again.
Randy, that looks like the center of your universe in your arms there. That's worthwhile investment.
Yeah. I got 6 of those, but that's the youngest one, so she gets spoiled. Okay, buddy.
It's worth more than a Skype call, Randy. Go away.
Talk to you later.
Go hang out. Bye. Take care. Thank you. All right. So we have the last remaining people here. I don't know, Joe, if you want to bring something up. I'm going to make another cup of coffee real quick, and I think. Steve, were you going to just actually really go make a cocktail or take a break for a second?
No,
or everybody want to
intermission?
I was going to go make a coffee too.
Yeah, well, do it. Do it. Everybody.
So this is coffee break time. And
unfortunately, my best mate came over and drank the last of my beer. So I'm a little pissed at the moment, but I'll stay.
All right.
Rich,
I'll be right back.
Still with us? I see your name on here, but I'm not seeing any interaction.
Rich?
Hello?
Yes, you're our last active soon to be administrator, I think, on the site.
Cool.
You're our last man standing.
I'm not actually standing.
Besides me, before I could continue this conversation for 3 or 4 days. I mean, I don't know.
No, I think I should probably go because it's like 4:10 in the morning.
All right. If you need to go, you need to go.
Yeah, I'll go some sleep. I can always catch up with you all later.
All right. Well, it was a good call. Joe and Steve and Colin, if you want to stay on, I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Something, Mike. That's one consideration. The other consideration is this was a good base. It was a good discussion. Maybe next week, same time, or something like that is also a good idea. That gives everybody a chance to relax, think about it, and come back. Perhaps bring in select other members. Up to you. But right. I've got a date I've got to go take to dinner in 20 minutes, so I'm going to be a short-termer here.
We had an enormous turnout at our last meeting where we had like a dozen people. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, and we did not actually make that meeting. So that meeting was postponed until this meeting, but we had an unusual non-turnout, even though we had an enormous sort of campaign of throwing it in everybody's face for about 3 weeks. So it's strange that we didn't have that many people show up.
No, it's not.
But I think...
Look at the calendar.
Look
at the calendar. It's summertime.
You're right. That's absolutely true. We did the last one in the winter.
Well, also, it'd be nice if it reminded you, if you could either use like Gmail calendars or something. If it was on my calendar, I wouldn't have missed it. Even though I did end up going to see my best friend and her daughter in the hospital like an hour and a half away, and that's why I was late. But it would be nice to have some kind of reminder right before, even if it's an email, just to say, hey, in 8 hours, here's the meeting.
Oh, well, yeah, we could have done that. Also, there was an event reminder you could have added in our calendar system, as well as on the Google Plus fan page and the Facebook fan page. But,
Oops.
Point taken, we could have sent out an email too. You know what? Let's postpone this and come back to it then. And it was great to meet both of you, Colin and Steve, and Rich. Thanks a lot for hanging on. And I think we'll reconvene again some other time. Sound fair?
A Windows 8 Forums video production. Visit us at windows8forums.com.